So, Carol, what is the best thing in your opinion you can do for your children regardless of their age?
I would say to give them love, to teach them as young children, for the young mothers, and now for me with grandchildren, to teach them the Bible, to teach them scriptures, to live their lives the way that we want them to live. Amen. And hope that they will live. And give them all the encouragement and the compliment them when you can. Give them a positive attitude.
Yeah.
Look for the best in things. Always look for, in each day, look for something to be thankful for rather than to something be not right.
I think we can see that in your boys and just from their personalities and their perspective on life. And so we know you've done a wonderful job with that. Yeah, and that's great advice. Do you think it's easier or harder today to raise a child in the global situation that we have today?
Well, I would say it's harder than when our children were younger. We have so many distractions. Children are under so much more pressure today with sports and with being drawn in all different directions. And I feel like that our family meals at night are not like they used to be, although we were still pretty active at home.
Yes, we were.
But the time together is spent more in the car, on the road, and I believe it's harder than it was when I was raising mine.
Well, what is your greatest hope for your children?
My greatest hope is that they live their life being a humble and an honest person. Those are two things that are so important to me, is to be humble and to be honest. And as when we had the grandchildren, when I would take them out, we had a little game we played. And we would go someplace, and as we got out of the car, I would say, now see how many people you can see to smile. And I said, when you meet their face, smile. And they would get back in the car, and everybody smiled back at me. And I think that's so you never know what that person's gone through that day. Mm-hmm. And just a smile or a compliment or a caring look could make a difference in their life for that day.
You know, I read a book some years ago, and it was called Good to Great. And one of the things that the author wrote in there was just what you just said. It was just simply about having that perspective on life that's positive, never quit attitude, just keep going, be honest. And the key word was humble. Mm-hmm. Humble, humility has such power. And when I first met you guys just recently, actually, I was somewhat overwhelmed with the humility that I felt whenever I approached you guys. And so that's not just talk, that's really a way of life. And I can really appreciate that so very much. Mm-hmm. And
I think today the children need to be more aware of a couple of words that are not used as much. Thank you, please, yes ma'am, and no ma'am. Mm-hmm. And they are words that I think would help their life be softer. And,
most certainly.
And
such a good
be kinder.
From a great mother. I have a humorous question for you, and that is, if your children were fruit, what kind of fruit would they be?
Well, I came up and I thought of a prune.
Oh.
And I teased my daughter and I said, they say you're a prune. But no. I think of a grape because it's hard on the outside but soft on the inside. A banana that you peel back and you get what's inside. A peach that is fuzzy on the outside but sweet on the inside. And a grape, peach, and an orange that is always gives you extra energy.
Certainly. So we know that Don's here with you today. Which one of those would you say he is?
I don't know. Would you be a banana?
Probably.
You have to peel him back.
I might be a grape because you can do so much stuff with a grape.
There you go.
It makes a drink. It makes, they're good to eat.
You bet. All kinds of applications. That's awesome.
I can say that my family have meant so much in recent weeks that to have them there and how much your family means to you
Most
is so
certainly.
important.
So true.
We have 4 boys, and as we've been raising them, and we've watched them grow over the years, and having 4 children, which looks like you
did.
guys as well had, and it's really rewarding to watch them as they get out of the house, they start to own their own lives, but they begin to choose the right choices in life. And that's just one of the rewards, I think, as a parent, as we get older, we get to watch our sons, in our case, 4 boys, make right choices. They're not always perfect, but, I know what's on the inside of them, and I know they're going to make good choices.
Have some problems of some kind.
You
but
bet.
You look for the best, and I'm enjoying now watching the grandchildren make their choices.
Exactly.
Now, how old is the grandchildren?
I have 2 generations of grandchildren.
Oh, wow.
The oldest is 31, and the youngest is 3.
Oh, wow.
And now 4 3/4 great-grandchildren. So
Wow.
we have
I have
all
4
ages.
I have 4 grandchildren and 1 on the way.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
4, 2 biological, 2 adopted.
Yeah.
And so they live in El Paso, unfortunately. And then they're all boys, and she has a little girl that she'll deliver in about 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
And
Well,
she is great. And
congratulations.
she is a great mother.
Yes.
So
Wonderful.
she has a lot. She works pretty hard.
Yeah, most
The
certainly.
oldest is 5.5 though.
So there's 4 of them, 5.5 to the birth that's coming.
Oh, wow.
So
Wow.
Congratulations. Well, Don, I really wanted to get you, and I had heard that you had read a poem early on, many years ago, it's my understanding, in request to your mother at one point, and I wanted you to read that.
Well, I tell you, I can't even begin to tell you how many people have come up to me, and it's been 20 years ago probably.
Oh, wow.
And they said, I remember when you read that at church and years ago, and it really is truly my mother. And, my mother, first of all, when she talked about humility and things that you do, it was extremely important to her. The manners were very, very important. Mm-hmm. And she certainly could have given Emily Post a thing or two. I'm just saying, now, in addition to that, I will say that she also she also was always pushed the fact that, look, the old saying, Christ says, go out and preach the gospel. And or Paul said, go out and preach the gospel. And if you have to use words,
that's right.
Well, she and my father both, they were, look, it's how you live that is the best example that you can do. And therefore that they encouraged a lot. Well, part of the meanest mother comes from that, just so you know. So I have to tell you, and I'll kind of go through this and I'll do my very best, but I truly have the meanest mother in the whole world. Mm-hmm. While other kids ate candy for breakfast, I had to have cereal or eggs or toast. When others had Cokes and candy for lunch, I had to eat a sandwich. As you can guess, my supper was different too. Other kids also, but at least I wasn't alone in all my sufferings. My sister and my 2 brothers had the same mean mother as I did. My mother insisted on knowing where we were at all times. You'd think we were on a chain gang. She had to know who our friends were, where we were going. She insisted that if we were gone for an hour, and we had to be back before an hour and 1 minute. I'm ashamed to admit it, but she actually struck us. At once, not once, but each time we had a mind of our own and did whatever we pleased. The belt was used more on me than it was to hold up my dad's pants. That might have been my fault. Can you imagine someone actually hitting a child just because they disobeyed? Can you imagine how mean she really was? Okay, we had to wear clothes that were clean every day. We had to take a bath every day. Other kids didn't always have to do that. And by the way, she did make us feel different from our friends. The worst is yet to come. We had to go to bed by 9 and up at 8 the next morning. We couldn't sleep until noon like many of our friends. So while we slept, my mother actually had the nerve to break the child labor law. She'd come up with more ways to work. We had to wash dishes, make beds, learn to cook, and all sorts of cruel things. I believe that she laid awake at night just thinking of more things for us to do. She always insisted upon telling the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth, even if it killed us. And a few times it nearly did. By the time we were teenagers, she was much wiser and our life became even more unbearable. None of those tooting horns of a car outside to get us running. She embarrassed us to no end by making our friends and our dates come to the door to get us. If we spent the night out, can you imagine? She checked on us to see if we were actually there. I forgot to mention, while my friends were dating at the mature age of 12, 13, or 14, my old-fashioned mother refused to let us date until we were 15 or 16. And that was maybe twice a year. No. Through the years, things didn't improve a bit. But we could not lie in bed sick like our friends did and miss school. If our friends had a toe ache or hangnail or serious ailment, they could stay at home. Our marks in school had to be up to par. Our friends' report cards had beautiful colors on them, black for passing, red for failing. My mother made sure that we always passed. As the years rolled by, first one thing and then another put us to shame. We were graduated from high school with our mother behind us, talking, hitting, and demanding respect. None of us were allowed the pleasure of being a dropout. My mother was a complete failure as a mother. Out of 4 children, we all went to college. None of us have ever been arrested, divorced, or none of us have beaten our mate. And whom do we have to blame for this terrible turnout? You're right, my mean mother. Look at the things we've missed. We never got to march in a protest parade, nor take part in a riot. We didn't get to burn draft cards, and a million or one other things that our friends got to do. She forced us to grow up in a God-fearing, educated, and as honest adults. Using this background, I tried to raise my children the exact same way. Today, I stand a little taller, and I'm filled with pride when I see my children call me mean. Because, you see, I thank God He gave me the meanest mother in the world.
That's so sweet.
So good. So good.
So that's my mean mother. And of all those things, I will say this. She taught us all to love everyone. And when she says we smile, I always laugh. And our slogan at the dealership is smile and every mile. That has come from my mother, my dad, everything we've done in our entire life. And one thing that they once told me, have you ever smiled at the mirror and the mirror not smiled back? So the one thing we always do is try to make sure we give everybody a good smile.
That's so good.
And no day, a quote that I like is, no day is ever over if it makes a memory.
Wow.
That's
So good.
incredible. And that kind of goes along with, what is something you remember growing up that your mother instilled in you?
I'd say, without a doubt, the one thing she did is everything was about, as silly as this sounds, was about manners. And, you know, when you really get right down to it, manners are more biblical than anything else we do. Because manners have to do with respect.
Yes.
And certainly God and Christ showed us respect. And by him dying on the cross for us, we had the most respect. Things, we were not good people. We were sinful people. And yet he still did that for us. In our case, she sacrificed a lot over the years to make sure that we truly treated others with a lot of respect. And so I would say that's the biggest thing.
So good. Well, Carol, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. I feel honored that you asked me to do this.
Well, it's a pleasure. And I know that everyone that gets to watch this video is just going to be completely transformed and changed because they've got to see a mother that's not just talk the talk, but walk the walk. And we're so thankful for your time today.
Setting that example.
And setting a great example.